Okay, the story I'm going to tell you today is about a time, two different times, that I had interactions with bears. Okay, I don't know what it is, but I think that I have some type of connection with bears. And the reason why is because of these two stories I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to tell you these stories. Now, the first takes place, I'm going to tell you the first story. The first story takes place in the West Kootenays. Now, this is when your mother decided to drop out of university. Drop out of university. This was basically a year after she had fallen out with her entire friend group, broken up with her boyfriend, fallen out with her friend group, was starting to have this massive spiritual awakening, crazy stuff, not something she chose. And so she is, during the summer, she's trying to learn how to meditate. So she's meditating on the balcony, and in her mind, she asks what her soul's name is. And she hears Yashodra or Yasodhara. She hears Yasodhara. Yasodhara. So she writes that down. She also hears chocolate. Okay. She goes and looks up Yasodhara, spelled Yasodara. I think that's how I wrote it down in the notebook. And she finds this ashram. It's in BC, Canada. And she starts to look into it. And it turns out it has this free program for people to come and stay there. And she has no clue about any of what this is like or what this is all about. But a few months later, in September, she decides she's going to drop out of university and go. So she goes. And while I was there at this ashram, I had a bunch of different experiences. But I'm going to tell you about this time that I saw this bear. So there were bears all over the ashram. And it was a beautiful, beautiful place, surrounded by mountains, trees. There's a big old Kootenai lake there, beautiful buildings, and a big old community garden, which is where I understood Eureka for the first time, because I understood what grassroots really meant, because I was trying to dig out grass out of this space, and I wasn't doing it with my bare hands, but I was practically doing it with my bare hands, and I understood now why they use grassroots and grassroots movements, because it's just so strong. Grass is so strong. But anyways, the point is, your mother was on her day off. So I was sitting by the lake. I had my laptop out, I had my phone and my notebook, and I was making music. This is when I was discovering my passion for recording music, and I would soon discover that I loved music production, but that's another point. But I was recording music. I was recording this song, Vera and Venus, Trippin', I think is the title. I had been listening to music that I had recorded over years in my little voice notes section on my phone. And I was listening to this one song. Actually, let me just play this. Where's my phone? Maybe I can just, I'm using it to record. Oh, well, but maybe it's on my computer. Maybe I can play you the song, because let me tell you something. I listened to me freestyling to this song, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah, incredible. Okay, your mom was a real talent. And this was freestyled, let me tell you. Freestyled. And it was so awesome, and it was like an entire song. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna figure out what I'm saying, and I'm gonna record this, and I'm gonna make a song. And so I decided to do that down by the lake. And Vera and Venus. Oh, is it not on here? Oh yeah, no, it isn't. Oh, but I might have to, I have to download everything. Oh, well, how long is that going to take? Vera and Venus freestyle. Okay, but, it's going to take okay, anyways, maybe I'll play it at the end. Anyways, the point is, I'm making this song, Vera and Venus. So I'm down by the lake, and I've got my computer out, and I'm out here, I'm singing, I'm I'm really trying to make my music. I'm having a fabulous time. It's my day off. I know that there's bears around, but it's fall. And I'm thinking, oh, they're going to be going into hibernation soon. Everybody's like, oh, the bears are, the bears are so lovely. And then there's also the people in the camp that are like, they're bears. And so I was somewhere in the middle. I was like, they're so cute and, I like nature. And then I was also like, they're bears. And your grandfather, my father, was like, they're bears. And so, I had a lot of voices reminding me not to be stupid. But I was also feeling young and whimsical and in the midst of a very deep and kind of distressing spiritual cracking opening. So it was hard to know when I was being delusional, when I was being realistic. And so I was at a moment where I was just feeling very whimsy. And I was down by the lake and I was making my music. And I hear this like trudging along, and I'm sitting on this big rock. I'm sitting on this big rock. It's kind of removed from the shore. And I look to my right and I see this massive mother bear. I know she's a mother. I just know. Don't ask me how I know. I just know. And she's pregnant. This massive mother bear just trudging down the rocks into the water. My heart stopped. I couldn't even think. I grabbed everything I had and I just booked it. And I started climbing over the rocks with my laptop, like I think it wasn't even closed, semi-opened in one hand, and my notebook and my phone, and I'm trying to be quiet because something in me told me that, one, she was pregnant. I just had a feeling. And that this was not one of those bears where it's like, oh, like, and they're like, yeah, we can coexist with humans. This was one of those experiences where the bear is like, no, I'm an animal, I'm a predator, and I will kill you. So I'm climbing across the rocks and I'm rushing and I'm panicking. And I don't even think I'm looking back because I'm so terrified that I'm in the mindset that the bear is already on my tail and coming after me, and I'm going to die unless a miracle happens. And this was a feeling that I had several times at the ashram. I kind of constantly felt like I was maybe on the edge of death because we were really in close contact with wildlife, and there were so many different animals. There were bears, black bears. There were deer, which were so cute. But there were also mountain lions. And so there's a lot going on. And I was constantly feeling a little bit in danger. But this time was really, really serious. So I'm running and I'm rushing and I'm rushing, and I get all the way up to my cabin and I run through, and I ran right into the door and I ran into my room, and there's a woman in the cabin and she's cleaning and she's doing something. And so like I stopped to have a short conversation with her, but I'm like barely conscious for that conversation because I'm thinking all about the bear. And that's the story. And so I almost died. Practically, pretty much. And so what's the point of that? Well, now I'm going to give you another story, and it's all going to come together in the end. So now here's the next story. So that's the first story where I was almost attacked by a pregnant mother bear. And now here's the next story. So now, this is a year later. Set the scene. Now your mom is 23, or maybe she's 24 already. No, 23. So I'm 23, and I've decided I'm kind of going back to school. I'm in between back to school and still feeling like maybe I'll just forever remain a dropout. I'm taking classes, but then I'm not taking classes, but then I'm taking classes, but then I'm not taking classes. And I have no idea what's going on with my life in terms of stability. Oh, mind you, back with the ashram version of your mother, massive debt, being very financially irresponsible, and just kind of flying by the seat of her tail, especially in terms of her credit card. Massively irresponsible, paying for things she had no business paying for. So now, in the context of 2023 version of me, when I'm 23 years old, poor, very, very poor. No work. Okay? Haven't worked. And important to 22-year-old mother. Also, mind you, when she dropped out of university, she also quit her job. Okay? So she had been working this job over the summer that she hated. First corporate job, salaried job. I think it was paying around like $47,000. It was great. It was amazing. It was a great salary, but it was all the way in Scarborough. And I was living in Etobicoke, okay? That's really long. I was taking 3 different like public transit forms, and it took me 2 hours. 2 hours to get to work, 2 hours to get home. I would wake up at 6 or something. I would, leave at 7 or something, and I would be there around 9:30-ish, something like that. Horrible times. And I hated the job. But it was a salaried job, but I hated the job. So I tried to quit that job 3 times, and I think I successfully quit on the 3rd time. And I lied by telling them that I was going back to school, and then I didn't go back to school, and I dropped out of school really, and I went to the ashram. So that's the context for who I was back then. And I was making money at that job. It was a really great job financially, so I had some money when I was on my way to the ashram. But by the end of the ashram, poor, because the journey to the ashram, extremely expensive, because it's kind of cut off from the rest of the world. And so you have to take a plane. I had to fly from Toronto to, where did I fly into? Not Kentucky, Kenora, something like that in BC. And then you have to stay at a hotel that night. And then you take a bus, and that bus is $90. And you take it to this cute little town called Nelson, this cutest town ever called Nelson. We have to go if we haven't gone already. Then you stay at a hotel in Nelson that night. The bathroom was disgusting, but the place was so cute. And I ate at the cutest little Indian restaurant. I love Indian food, and it was amazing there. And I really loved that place, and I really loved the woman. And then I left Nelson, and I got on another bus to take me to a ferry. And then I got on the ferry, and then I was picked up by somebody there, and they drove me to the ashram. So that's the kind of journey it takes to get there. It's very expensive. But then once you get to the ashram, it's free. Well, except you have to pay $25 a month, and they do have a gift shop. And so you do buy stuff, and they do sell treats, and so you can buy stuff. And so it's free, but it's not free. It's free, but it's not free, but it's free. So that was me in 2022. 22 years old. This is me in 2023. Poor. So poor. Haven't worked. I don't know if I had a job that year. I don't think I did. That year wasn't really doing many adult stuff. Was just kind of being crazy and young and whimsical, and very strongly believed I was going to meet your parent. Whoever your other parent is, I thought I was meeting them pretty much for the past 3 or 4 years, but that year especially. And earlier that year, I was with your grandmother, my mother, in Tulum. So I spent 2 months at the beginning of that year being fun and zesty in Tulum, fun and free in Tulum, except I was, trying to be responsible, trying to figure out what I was going to do. I thought maybe I'd be a meditation leader. Maybe I'd write meditations and sell them. Maybe I'll still do tarot. Who knows? I don't know. So just doing all that. Then in the springtime, I decided to take classes and go back to school a little bit. So I was like, I'm a student again. So, I'm not working, blah, 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 doing all that. Not that I didn't want a job. I did want a job, but during this time, it was notoriously hard to get hired. We were in some type of economic, I don't know. It was a few years after the pandemic. So then I discovered this opportunity. I think first in May, but I brushed it to the side because I think I was focused on other things. And then it comes back around in July because I'm like, oh, well, I don't have anything else to do. So I decide, you know what? I'm going to go for it. It's this opportunity to do this 2 week-long trip in Canadian wilderness and get your Canadian wilderness certificates and things like that. And then you go do this work thing. And it's really cool. And that is exactly how I would have explained it. I knew nothing about this program, nothing about it. And a key characteristic of me at that time was that I didn't really do much looking into things. It was more like I discover something, find the basics of what I need to apply, because it's not really about whether I'm really interested in the thing or not. It's just oh, there's an opportunity, let's go apply for it. That was me. So once something comes across my my vision, instead of asking myself, oh, well, what is this? And oh, well, what's it like? And do I want to, it's more just oh, okay, time to apply for it. It's mine. That was my way of being. So I go and I apply for it, throw in my application, and I get it. And I think that I think they contacted me because I think I applied and then I forgot. And then I wasn't responding to their stuff because I was deciding that I was focused on school. Oh, and I thought that I was graduating at the end of the summer, but I wasn't, because I had decided to sign up for this class at University of Toronto, which was really good. A really good class about some century of English literature, but really it was all about religion, these religious guys, and them discussing the Bible, but in a really academic way, but also very protective way. It was so cool. But it was one of those classes that doesn't count as a credit for anything, and I was thinking it was a continuing education class. Once again, your mother was the type of person who just did things and wasn't researching things. So anyways, so that happened, and that opportunity got thrown to the dust, and it was really tragic, extremely tragic. Oh, and I had thrown another opportunity away. So this was the year of, taking responsibility and doing things, but then also throwing my life away in other ways. Because I think I had also applied to go and take a class where I would get to travel to in Trinidad and Tobago, but then I gave my spot up. I gave my spot up because I decided it would be best that someone else had it, because of there's no reason for it. I can't remember why. I was just doing, oh, I know why. Because I was in the midst of spiritual delusion. Okay? Delusion. There is no other way to describe it. I was delusional. And I thought that at every moment I was going to meet my soulmate. And so everything I did was about that. And I would get these feelings, and they would guide me to make decisions that were crazy. And I would give up on things because I thought other things were going to come and happen to me because my soulmate was coming. So crazy, your mother was crazy. And you might be crazy right now. You might be delusional. And I want you to know that it's normal, but I want you to learn from my mistakes. If you have an opportunity, a paid for opportunity to go somewhere, you get into a really cool job, you get a really cool class, a really cool learning opportunity, don't give it up, okay? When it comes to your dreams and what you really desire, I want you to know that they're so important. They're so important, especially the dreams that you've had since you were a child. They're so important, and you need to follow them. Of course you need to follow them, but you also need to be a stable adult, okay? And that is going to become so much more important to you than those dreams. And that's going to help you realize your real dreams, being a stable adult. So don't give up the opportunities that can help you walk that path of stability. But I did give up a lot of opportunities, and that's okay. That's okay. As you know, the world moves on and life moves on, and it doesn't kill you, but it does make you real when you think about it in the future. So try not to do what I've done. But let me give you context for that, because the context was that I had already experienced a lot of disappointment when it came to travel. I had a lot of traumatizing experiences with travel, because the 2020 pandemic, which I wonder if it will be such a big thing when you guys are older, but the 2020 pandemic changed everybody's life, and it changed the course of this planet. And in my opinion, it was also a bit of a spiritual shift. And I think it did something to the energy on Earth. But what happened during the 2020 pandemic was that life got completely disrupted for everybody. And the way that my life got disrupted was when I was in the middle of university. It was my second year in university. I was living on my own with my friend, Natalie. We were living in our very first apartment. And I had plans to study abroad the next year. I had already applied. Studying abroad was pretty much the reason I applied to go to university. Why wouldn't you just apply to go to university abroad instead of just studying abroad? Well, because university is incredibly expensive. I don't know if university is going to still be expensive by the time you guys are older. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's free. But if it's not, then I'm really sorry. And yeah, university was really expensive, and I was living in New York before moving back to Toronto. And so I was like, you know what, I can't afford to do that, or else I would have gone to study abroad in London. But instead I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to university in Canada, and I'm just going to study abroad once I get to university in Canada. So that's what I want to do, and that's what I did. I applied to study abroad. I booked a trip to Italy with my friend group who I would later fall out with. And I had all these plans. I was an excited, ambitious I was going to turn 20, 19-year-old. I was just feeling excited about life. I was still driven. In high school, your mother was a very career-oriented, driven girl. Wasn't really dating, would have loved to date, but didn't have romantic experiences. That was not my story. I was the career girl with crazy hair. And so that carried on into university for those first 2 years. I was joining clubs. I was writing for the magazines. I was working at the student residence. I was getting it done. And so what is the context? Why am I telling this? Why am I saying any of this? Oh, right, the trauma. So the trauma was that the 2020 pandemic happened. So then the flight to Italy got canceled. That was my first time ever booking a big flight and saving money towards a big dream for myself to go to a new country and blah, blah, blah. Traumatic. And then the next year comes, study abroad gets canceled. Traumatic. But then I'm told, oh, actually study abroad is back on. Do you want it? But then the study abroad counselor is like, but it probably isn't going to happen. So if I were you, I would say no. So then I said no, but then turns out it actually did end up happening. And so I was like, oh, well, can I do it still? And she was like, no, you're too late. So traumatic. But then she sends me this new opportunity to take this class and to go abroad with this class for 2 weeks and blah, blah, blah. So I apply for it and I go decide to do it, and I'm all excited and I get accepted and woohoo. And then what happens? Well, yeah, so then the trauma crept up to me, along with me being in the middle of a very deep and dark delusion that was absolutely due to this spiritual awakening I was happening. What they don't tell you about the spiritual awakening is that it makes you crazy. It totally makes you crazy. And there seems to be no accountability on the universe's end for that part of the whole shebang. Like, yes, it makes you more aware and, helps you realize things, and really has positively affected my life now. But a few years ago, it was making me crazy. It was making me insane. And I did a lot of crazy things because of it. And I let go of a lot of opportunities because I was not like here. You know, I wasn't all the way there. So anyways, that was the context. So back now, so it's July now. And I'm deciding, okay, well, you know what? I have no plans for the future. So I guess I'll go ahead and do this program. So I pick the path where I get to climb the Rocky Mountains and go hiking in the Rocky Mountains. Your mother has never gone hiking before, never done any nature excursion before, but I love the forest and I love going to my park, Alex Marchetti. I love that park. So I'm like, yeah, sure. Rocky Mountains it is. And the thing that's really selling me is that I get to live in another part of Canada for 2 months, rent free. Context, your mom's super poor at this time, super, super poor. And not only is she poor, but she's in debt. So this is really, really selling it for me. Everything is paid for, everything is blah, blah, blah. But you get reimbursed. So you're paying for things and then you get reimbursed. But the flight was paid for. And so I was like, you know what? Put it on the credit card and let's call it a day. So I go to this Rocky Mountain expedition. I go for 2 weeks to the Rocky Mountains and I'm hiking with a group, my cohort. There's 20 people in the main group, but I have like 10 people in my group. And our group is classified as like basically like the misfits. We're like the underachieving, non-athletic, like losers, basically. Underdogs. And that was the energy, because there were 2 groups. There's one group that was like everybody in that group was an athlete or somebody who knew a lot about hiking and blah, blah, blah. And then in my group, there were the people who were like big nature people, big athletic people. And then there were some of us, myself included, who knew nothing about it or who had some type of thing that made it a little bit difficult to be overly, like extremely physically active. And so it became this thing where like, you know, we were like the misfits and then they were like the cool, like athletic people. And people in my cohort, and I don't think anybody will fess up to it, but a lot of people really were really extreme about the split, and people stopped being friends and like there became drama and it was really dramatic. I stayed out of it because I was just in a place where I was just excited to be able to live somewhere for 2 months, and that's what I was really looking forward to. And so, I wasn't thinking about it like that. Didn't also realize that people were looking at this as a serious career opportunity. I was just grateful to have a place to live. It was really this experience was really defined by me being broke and kind of directionless in life and just happy to have somewhere to eat, somewhere to sleep. I just didn't want to be living at dad's, at grandpa's, and I just wanted freedom. So everything else meant nothing to me. I was just grateful to be here. That was my kind of vibe. Grateful to be here. So I was climbing this mountain, and we're climbing the Rocky Mountains, and we get this day off in the middle of the expedition, and it's supposed to be this really big deal because it's like the first time you spend the entire day alone. You don't know where you're gonna be, and like they just kind of walk you to this space, and then you don't know where you are, and like you're blindfolded, and so it's supposed to be like a really big, like, oh my gosh, like I'm all alone, and like you're supposed to self-reflect, and you're supposed to come out of it and be like changed, and all these big things. So I was really looking forward to it because I was like, oh, well, shoot, maybe I will be changed. And mind you, of course, at every moment of this trip, I'm looking around, I'm like, is my soulmate here? Maybe they are, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I'll run into them on the mountain. I'm thinking maybe I'll run into them once I get to whatever town I get to. They are the priority. My mind on them. Even when I'm trying to convince myself that they're not, they are. It was a really strong delusion that had me in its grips. at this point in my life. Yeah. And so anyways, we have our day off, and mind you, I'm doing great at this hiking thing, even though I have no experience. So that tells you something. You should definitely take risks. But mind you, so we have this day off, and I go and I set up my camping tent, and I'm like, oh, cool, this is really fun. I look around, I see 2 other people. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna be fine. This is gonna be fun. I'm so happy to be alone, because the drama when we were hiking, it was incredible how many times people could find something to create drama over. When I was just trying to stay alive, while I was hiking with a 40-pound bag, 50-pound bag on my back. I'm 5'3", 50 pounds. I have asthma. That summer I had like horrible health issues. Asthma attack, my wrist was doing something weird. I've never gotten an explanation for what was happening with my wrist. It just went away. But horrible wrist pain. And I didn't tell anybody. I was just like, I'm just not going to say anything because I didn't want to lose my place to live. You would have thought I was homeless the way I was acting like I really needed this place to live. But I really did. And so anyways, I'm on this mountain. It's my day off. I set up my tent. I cook myself my dinner. I'm having a great time. Well, I didn't cook myself a dinner. I ate hummus, I think, with the carrots. I ate hummus and carrots. And that was dinner. And then I went and I tied up my bear bag. And then my hiking leader comes over and they're like, hey, we're just going to take your food because, we're just going to take your food. She didn't give any explanation. She was just like, where's your food? And I was like, oh, it's over there. Go ahead and take it. And she's like, you've had everything I need. And I'm like, yeah, I've got everything. So anyway, she takes my food. I have a few more minutes outside. Then I go inside my tent and I'm ready to go to sleep. So I'm laying in my tent and it's hard to fall asleep because it's freezing on the mountain. It's freezing and it's the cold, hard forest floor, pure earth. And so I'm up thinking about things and suddenly I hear this sound, but really before I hear the sound, I smell the animal. I did not know bears smelled like garbage, but they do. They smell like pure garbage. But it's not in a disgusting way. It's just in they just smell like compost. They smell like pure earth. And earth doesn't smell like garbage, but it's an earthy kind of garbage. It's like compost. They smell like that and it's really, really strong. And so anyways, I smell that and I'm like, what's that? And then I hear this big thumping. And then I hear it stop right behind me. And I'm just kind of laying there and I'm like, must be an animal. I thought it was a moose at first. I was in a place in life where I was really self-accepting. It was kind of like whatever happens, happens. That's the way I was like. And so I wasn't afraid because I just didn't feel like anything was gonna happen. This is the thing. I was both very self-accepting and just whatever happens, happens. But I was also very life is is anything even real? Is anything even purposeful anymore? Because so many disappointments and I felt like the universe was taking too long to bring me my soulmate. So I was kind of a little bit just kind of whatever. And I was tired from a week of rock hiking already. So I was kind of very blasé about things. I just didn't feel whatever. What's the point in freaking out? And so, yeah, there's this massive bear right behind me in my tent. And I'm just pretty calm. And to be honest, I might have fallen asleep because I don't even remember the bear leaving. I don't remember what happened. I just remember noticing it, smelling it, thinking, wow, it's behind me, and waking up in the morning. So I wake up in the morning and I have the rest of my day. I look around to see if there's any bear, but there's no bear. and have the rest of the day until my hiking person comes to pick me up. And that night, that night when we're all together again, the other group that got separated from us was telling me the story about how their hiking leader came to them and was like, we have to take your food because there's been a bear sighting around and blah, blah, blah. And then this guy was like, yeah, I saw a bear from across the thing and blah, blah, blah. And people were like, I was so scared all night. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, well, you know what? The bear came behind my tent. And my hiking leaders were like, well, why didn't you say anything? And blah, blah. And I was like, well, first of all, what was I supposed to say? What was I supposed to do? Get out the tent and be like, with the bear? Give me a break. Or blow my whistle? I mean, come on. I wasn't thinking like that. But I was just so like, oh my gosh, wow. There was a bear really behind my tent last night. And I wasn't even freaking out and I wasn't even scared. And I was like, wow, me and bears really have a connection. And you know what? I had a lot of dreams during this time in my life about bears, but they were always scary. They were always scary dreams. And it was always a mother bear. And she was always like threatening me in some way. But I think it was just, it wasn't like she was actually trying to threaten me, but she was always intimidating. Like they were never nice. They were never like kind and like, you know, trying to nurture me. They were always very much so giving bear. But yeah, those were my bear stories. Anyways, once that expedition was over, I ended up going to Fernie and I lived there for 3 months. And it was the most poor I have ever felt. I got a job at a grocery store that lasted for 2 weeks because I hated the job. I just didn't want to work. I didn't want to work at the time. I was more focused on making music and just being happy to live in my cute home, which was so cute. So I was poor, but not poor enough to keep a job. But I was poor and I was really feeling it. I've never felt poverty more than I think I've never felt poverty in terms of the anxiety more than during that time, because I could never not think about how much money I didn't have, and how crazy it was that I was spending so much money. Because even though everything was free, nothing is really free, and it really costs you. And it taught me a lot about what I'm willing to spend and how much of a precarious situation I'm willing to get myself into financially. And after that program, I decided to go back to university, and I did my final class and I graduated that June, and it led to the fall where I decided that I was going to apply to work in South Korea. And now here I am in March and I'm in South Korea. So woo! It all, it all leads to something. But that was my bear's story. And if you can find the connecting points, then great, because I kind of went all over the place and I don't remember why I wanted to tell this. I was kind of hoping the meaning would come to me as I told it, but I'm feeling like it's not. I originally started out, so this is actually the first video that I'm doing for you guys. And I originally started out wanting to do these because I was like, oh my God, I want to make videos for my kids. And I was thinking it'd be really cute to do like okay, I'll be honest. First, it started as a for my daughter video because I was, I don't want to be a mom, I always want to have a daughter, blah, blah. But I'm so happy I have whoever I have. If I have all sons, I love you guys. If I have daughters and sons, I'm so grateful. I love whatever I have. I'm so grateful. I love you. I love you. And I wanted to make these videos for you guys. And I'm right now going through the transition of early adulthood to adult. She's an adult. And it's really hard. It's really tough. And so I thought it would be nice to make little videos for you guys, trying to give you advice. So the first one I was going to do was the transition from early adulthood to being an adult. But I realize I can't give advice on that because I am transitioning. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I can tell you guys stories from my life. And that story, or those two bear stories, are really actually what I'm realizing are more so just about how crazy your mom was. It was how crazy I was. I was so crazy. From the ages of like 21 to 23 were really crazy times for me, where I was just blowing with the wind, doing whatever and having a lot of experiences and being really financially irresponsible, um, in ways that I am now paying for and trying to work out. And oh, mind you, so another thing that added stress, financial stress on while I was in Fernie, that job that I hated, that I quit back in the summer of 2022, comes back to haunt me because my boss emails me talking about, we've been trying to get in contact with you. She says it like that, like I've been avoiding them. And they're like, you owe us money. I had to pay them $500 because apparently I got $500 in advance, in some type of cash advance. I don't know why they would do that. Why would you give me that? I don't remember even accepting that. But apparently I had that and I never paid them back. So I had to pay them back. But I told them, I was like, look, I'm poor, so you're going to have to wait a long time. And I ended up paying them back in like May of the next year because I didn't have money. I didn't have any money. Or did I even do May? Or did I maybe even do way later, like the next year in November, maybe the next year. I don't remember when I paid them back, but I paid them back and I paid off my student loans. So I paid off two big financial things basically this year or this past year. So that's been a really good, exciting thing. 24, like 2024 and 24 has been the year of getting mature, growing up, handling the things that I was irresponsible with in my early 20s because I was being free and having experiences, which I don't regret. I don't regret anything. I don't regret any of it. And I'm so glad I did all of it. But you know, it all has a cost, and the cost was my financial stuff. But my credit score is still good. So you know what? Just try to balance it. Don't go into debt and then never pay. You know, figure out a plan, try to pay your debt down and then go into debt again. It's whatever. But, you know, just try not to ruin your life while you're doing these things. You can waste certain opportunities and make mistakes with certain people, but don't ruin your entire life, okay? That's just what you have to try and balance in your early 20s. Just don't ruin everything for some experiences and some opportunities. Certain things can be sacrificed, certain things can go be stretched, and you can take risks in certain places. Certain things you can be a little crazy with, but you have to know where the line is. You have to always be aware of the line because it exists, and if you cross it, you can really just destroy your life, and you don't want to do that. But I feel like this video was really more so about it's just so you guys know, because I mean, I don't know what age you are when you're watching this, but I want you to know, like, I rarely have my life together. The last time I feel like I had my life together was high school. Because like I said, I was a career woman in high school. I could have been the president when I was in high school. Not the president of my school, but I could have been president. Like, that's how ambitious and just focused I was. I had goals, I had dreams. I was going to be a writer or something with English, and I was just going to be successful. I just knew I was going to be successful when I was in high school. And so you really couldn't tell me anything, and I was doing stuff. So yeah, high school I didn't have the typical high school experience of like, you know, doing drugs and being at parties. That wasn't me. I was at writing camps. I was going to writing camp and participating in things that would help me in my future. And I'm grateful that I was that way. Maybe I didn't get to have all the dating experiences, but I got to have other cool experiences that, to be honest, to me mean more. But yeah, I just want you guys to know that I'm a mess and that that's where I am right now. And I'm 24. And so wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I don't want you to feel ashamed. I don't want you to feel like, you know, my life sucks and I'm never going to get it together. I felt like that so many times. Me, your aunts can tell you, my sisters, we've all felt that way, but it figures itself out. And the most important thing is that you learn how to get committed. If you can master that, everything else can be figured out. But really, what's important right now, what I know right now is really important, is commitment. You need to be able to stick to something. You have to find something to stick to because you need to master something. Mastering something will give you the ability to create stability for yourself no matter what, because there's something you always know how to do, and there's always going to be somebody who needs that done. For me, I've figured out I'm really good with kids. I'm good with like community programming. I'm good with like teaching things, social settings with children. I'm good with that kind of stuff. And so I'm teaching right now. Before teaching, I was doing after school programming. When I had my salaried official job, I was doing programming. So all of that kind of encompasses the same kind of thing. I figured out I'm good at that. It wasn't anything related to the degree that I studied, but I'm good at it. I got an opportunity once and it kind of spiraled into following down this path. And that opportunity was sent to me by a woman who I worked with, who I got the opportunity to work with because I sent a letter of demand. I sent a list of demands to my university president at the time because of what? Because of Indigenous rights, because I think we wanted to, there was so much happening. We were changing the university name and taking down this statue, and I think there was a lot going on, and I was trying to address several points, and so I wrote a list of demands and I sent it to my letter, sent the letter to him, and he was like, this is great, and he sent me to the library, and they were like, let's do a book club, and that was the response. That was the result. I got to do a book club on Instagram with my best friend, Dreedy, and we worked together with Consent Comes First, and out of that came a lot more opportunities, but out of that came a job opportunity that this woman, Farah Khan, sent me. She was awesome, and I followed up on that opportunity. I took it, I signed up, I got the job. I had that job for a while, and it was a great job. It was a great first, like, outside of university work kind of job to have, and it put me on this career path. And so you never really know like what's going, I don't know if you can really even be in control so much so of what kind of work you end up doing, and your work doesn't need to be your purpose. It just needs to be the thing that can bring you stability, that can bring you independence. Especially right now in life, you need to focus on building up that independence muscle. And the way you build it is by working through the resistance. And the best way to work your way through resistance is to commit to something. Commit to something long term. Commit to staying at a job for a year. Commit to staying at an apartment for a year. Commit to rent. Commit to paying your own rent. Commit to moving somewhere and sticking it out. Commit. Commitment. Long-term commitment is the greatest exercise right now. And I don't mean marriage, and I don't mean relationships. I mean professionally. Things that build you up professionally. Commit to those things. And I think those two stories, the fact that they were based at two places where I was experiencing short-term commitment type of experiences and kind of professional building spaces, they reflect my journey to getting closer and closer. And in between those, I'm dealing with school and whether I'm going to commit, and eventually I fully commit. It's all a journey. It's non-linear. It's not supposed to be perfect. It comes with a lot of mistakes, a lot of wasted opportunities, a lot of regret, a lot of hilarious moments and laughter. And the most important thing is to take risks, to be very open to whatever path life has ahead of you, and to not imagine that you already know everything that you want, because more than likely you don't. More than likely you have no idea what you want, and whatever you do want to receive, you probably don't need it right now. You probably don't need it right now. Whatever you need is whatever is standing in front of your face and saying, hey, I'm available professionally, not romantically, professionally. And that is where your focus should be, building up that independence. That is adulthood. And it feels so good to be independent. And this is coming from someone who has for the longest time been like, I just want to be a housewife and a mother. But no, you know, there's no one coming to save you once you enter into real adulthood. It's you saving yourself. It's you making your own dreams come true. And you answer the opportunities that directly answer your dreams. The real dream. The dream that makes you feel not just fulfilled and happy and passion filled, but the dream that makes you be able to close your eyes at night because you're not laying awake thinking, oh God, what if I never move out? Oh God, what if I never get a stable income? You know what I mean? The dreams that allow you to breathe. Opportunities that answer those, the things that bring you peace, those are the ones we're going after when we're getting right into adulthood and trying to build up those muscles of independence. So either way, I love you guys and I'm proud of you no matter what you're doing, okay? And I just think that you're awesome. And I want you to enjoy this time in your life. And I want you to know that your mom was a mess, a total mess for who knows how long, hopefully not much longer. But I was a mess and I am a mess right now. Just 2 days ago, I was a mess. I stopped being a mess yesterday. I started being a mess again this afternoon. Who knows what will happen tomorrow, but it's going to be okay. You just have to get up again, not be afraid to try again. You just can't stop. Okay, so call me and I love you. Bye.